Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to continue to have a look at the very unsettled and thundery conditions we do have in many areas at the moment. We've got still some real heavy thundery showers breaking out quite widely, and it will continue over the next couple of days. Perhaps though, towards the weekend things could turn a little bit drier, but as we alluded to in the last couple of videos, perhaps early to middle of next week we could be seeing some early autumnal heat, potentially a very hot air mass arriving ahead of ex-Hurricane Danielle, which is diving to our south, bringing up really warm tropical air mass. Could give temperatures in the mid to high 20s, maybe even 30 degrees in some areas, but also could give us some very heavy torrential rain, because of course this warm humid air is got a lot more moisture in it, so whenever we do see showers, storms or areas of rain engage with it, it could be that much heavier. It is still in the 5 to 7 day time frame, so there are still things that could change and details aren't exact. We'll be able to iron those out over the next couple of days. But for the time being, we'll be able to have a look at what the shorter range and the mid-range models are showing for next week. But yeah, some real lively conditions over the next week to 10 days with storms and heavy showers at the moment, and then potentially this big warmth and hot spell potentially for a few days next week. So, do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, links in description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see there are a lot of showers around at the moment. They aren't perhaps as intense in terms of active thunderstorms as we have had over the last few days, but they are definitely more widespread in terms of general heavy precipitation, especially through central, southern, and western areas. Now, the reasons for these two areas of precipitation we have across the British Isles at the moment are two localised areas of low pressure that are within the general low pressure system. Now, this low is, or the general low is spreading eastwards, and that's why around the centre of the low we've got a lot of these showers developing. Now, the first centre of the low, or first localised centre, is just off the coast of Wales at the moment, and you can see how these showers are spiralling in a sort of semicircle pattern, and that's because they are moving round the low pressure system anti-clockwise, and yeah, just slowly pushing eastwards with a lot of heavy thundery showers. We are seeing some active thunderstorms within this, but majority of this is just heavy rain with the isolated lightning strike, and yeah, really forming into bands. So some areas could see a lot of rain in a short period of time, and this instability in low pressure system is just going to move eastwards, and perhaps overnight tonight into tomorrow we could see the heaviest precipitation here further eastward. So East Anglia, the East Midlands, central, southern and eastern England could be the bullseye area for the precipitation, and Ireland, Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and southwest England could actually start to turn drier from tomorrow. Still could be a few showers around, but could start to turn drier instead of and the thundery activity reducing. But we're also going to keep an eye on this secondary area of low pressure. Now, this is actually forming, again, a bit of precipitation here with some thunderstorms mixed within it, and this will wrap around, move across the Isle of Man and perhaps back into Wales tomorrow, but it will reduce in intensity as it does. But yeah, just areas of precipitation spiraling around, a lot of heavy thundery showers. And we'll be able to have a look at the lightning strikes in a minute, and you can see there are sporadic lightning strikes, no amazing active storms at the moment like we have seen over the last sort of 5 days or so, but just isolated lightning strikes, and yeah, really unsettled conditions. So if you are in these areas in England and Wales, yeah, I highly doubt that anywhere will get away with being dry today. Most areas will see a heavy thundery shower at least at a time, and again, this is just moving eastward. So areas in London, Essex, East Anglia, South East England, this is going to continue all afternoon into the evening and into tomorrow as well. Now, if I do put on the temperatures as around just before 2 p.m, you better see the temperatures aren't too great today. In those areas with the heavier precipitation, it is pretty chilly. Temperatures around the mids, maybe high teens. It is quite a humid air mass still, so it doesn't feel all too cold out there, but it isn't particularly warm like we have had in the last few weeks, coming off the back of an incredibly hot summer as well. Now, you can see across parts of northeast England, East Anglia, the East Midlands, up towards northwest England, where we actually have a drier area. It is a little bit warmer, perhaps low 20s here, but it isn't anything exceptional. Next week, though, it could get towards mid to high 20s widely. Now, that doesn't sound anything too exceptional, really, but for the middle of September, that really is quite warm indeed, and we could not, we could even, we can't even rule out seeing potentially 30 degrees somewhere. It all depends though on how much the hot air does get in, whether it does coincide with daylight hours, whether it does get accompanied by some storms, thicker cloud, and precipitation. That will all decide whether we do see the really high temperatures. But it is pretty much bang on now. We're going to see a really warm, humid air mass. So even if we don't see the really high temperatures, it's going to feel really warm, muggy, humid, and overnight as well, those temperatures probably won't drop much below 15, 16, 17 degrees. Now, if we do go over, lastly on the live radar, if we do actually have a look at the past 24-hour precipitation. Now, this is only the precipitation that's fallen in the last 24 hours. Most of these areas have seen 100 plus millimetres, and you can just see how where we have seen some big thunderstorms move through. We've seen these lines of greens and yellows just to the south of London, parts of Wales, southwest England, even into parts of the West Midlands there. Near Wolverhampton, saw a line of big thunderstorms moving through there, into northeast England, Scotland as well. Just widely areas seeing around an inch of rainfall, and some areas seeing a few inches of rainfall in just the last 24 hours. Some areas here have probably seen 100 to 200 millimetres in the last week, so a lot of rainfall has fallen. Luckily though, we have been pretty dry recently, so it's not causing too many flooding issues, but I do suspect it will really alleviate the drought conditions in many areas. Yes, we still have official hosepipe bans, but I don't think many people are going to be needing to use their hosepipe in the gardens with this amount of rainfall falling. So hopefully this does alleviate those conditions, so the next few weeks and months, even if we do have some dry weather, we do move out of drought status. Now, if we do go over to rainfall radar from the Met Office and have a look at lightning strikes, you can see around at 150. You can see there are sporadic lightning strikes. The oranges and yellows are within the last sort of 10 to 20 minutes, and going toward blues and purples are within the last sort of half an hour to an hour. So you can see there are quite a few lightning strikes around. No really active storms. An active storm will look like these across Eastern Europe, with many, many hundreds of lightning strikes and thousands of lightning strikes. There are more sporadic strikes across England generally. Again, this doesn't pick up on every lightning strikes. There are a lot more in reality than this picks up on, but it does show you the positioning of any active storms, really. So yeah, do expect some more lightning strikes over the course of this afternoon and evening, but any active thunderstorms, not at the moment. But again, with the amount of instability around, the amount of showers we have around, you can't rule it out later this afternoon into the evening. So if you do now have a look at the weather warnings, you can see there is one yellow warning today, and it's for rain across parts of southern Scotland. Again, I'm surprised we haven't got a blanket thunderstorm warning in force for some areas. Again, I've been surprised about the last few days. We haven't seen blanket thunderstorm warnings. We have seen some very intense thunderstorms, and we're going to be seeing continued amount of heavy thundery rain today. So yeah, surprised about that. I'm surprised maybe the next couple of days we don't have a few yellow warnings here or there. But we have a yellow rain warning from 3 p.m. this afternoon until just before midnight tonight. Heavy rain may cause travel disruption and flooding in a few places. A period of heavy rain is likely this late this afternoon and evening, perhaps with thunder close to the east coast. 10 to 15 millimetres may fall in an hour in a few spots, while more widespread totals of 20 to 30 millimetres seem likely over 3 to 6 hours. Some hillier parts, perhaps especially across Lothian and Borders, could perhaps see around 50 millimetres this falling into wet ground, increasing the possibility of a few flooding problems. Again, high likelihood, lower end of the impact matrix. Again, surprised we're seeing a warning put in force for this and not for other areas. Again, because some of these thunderstorms in the south and the west and the north yesterday did produce more than that in terms of precipitation, and the models have been pretty on it over the last few days. So again, surprised with these warnings, not seeing thunderstorm warnings issued, but again, I'm not a professional and we leave this down to the Met Office. They obviously did not think it was yellow warning worthy. So if you do now go over to the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days or so, again, you can see the heavy showers and thunderstorms in the south this afternoon as moved around 3 p.m. Again, all these heavy showers, thunderstorms spiraling around the low pressure system, just continuing all through the night. And you can see in the far southeast corner of the United Kingdom, they do continue around sunset and beyond. So the southeast corner, Essex, Kent, Surrey, Sussex, London area could be holding on to the heavy precipitation and thunderstorms throughout the evening. before eventually dissipating around midnight to turning more offshore. Could be quite a light show there with still some instability in the channel and some thunderstorms there. You can see some heavier precipitation through parts of Scotland and that area of precipitation around that localised low moving through Northern Ireland and through the Isle of Man in towards Wales tomorrow. Now through tomorrow afternoon we are going to see again quite a few heavy thundery showers, but as I said, they are more down the eastern part of the country. Yes, further westwards, parts of Revival Island, still seeing a few showers, maybe some more persistent rain in the far southwest, but a lot of these showers are going to be lighter and more scattered. The most intense, widespread showers look likely in the east tomorrow. And as we head towards Saturday afternoon, you know what? Showers are very, very scattered and only locally in the far east. Perhaps Eastern England in general could see a few heavy showers. Maybe the isolated thunderstorm here or there. But it is much drier. So as I said, this weekend looks much drier, generally warm. So really quite pleasant conditions in amongst some really unsettled weather. And as we head through to Sunday, heavier precipitation is pushing in from the west across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, and could push into parts of Wales and southwest England through the evening, but areas further eastwards are much more pleasant. And as we head into Monday and Tuesday, we can see a dividing line. You see the low pressure moving in with weather fronts across many northern areas, and that's because we've got that very hot, humid air pushing into the south. Now, this run has got a lot of cloud associated with it, so the temperatures at the surface are not all too warm. Will be very muggy and humid, but not too all warm on the thermometer. But if we did see a bit of sunshine with this subtle shift in the area of cloud and the area of the air mass, we could see much hotter conditions. And if we do look at the upper air temperatures for this, you can see, as we head through Monday evening into Tuesday, around 15 to 20 degrees could be seen in the far southeast. You can see the 20-degree isotherm is just on the bottom right of the screen across parts of northern France, and that could give temperatures into the low 30s for some areas. Now, if we do have a look at the 2-metre temperatures, again, they're not going to be exactly precise at the day 4, day 5 time frame, because as I said, it all depends on the cloud shower activity as well. But this afternoon, you can see temperatures widely high teens, maybe peaking around 20, 21 degrees in those areas, avoiding the showers. Tomorrow, again, those temperatures around the high teens, maybe low 20s, again, around average, slightly above average this time of year. And Saturday is a lot drier, and those temperatures will respond a couple degrees higher, more into the low 20s, maybe 21, 22 degree peaking for the day. And into Sunday in the north and west, a lot cooler, low to mid-teens, maybe high teens in a few spots, but elsewhere, 21, 22 degrees quite widely across England and Wales, as it is much drier and warmer. Into Monday, precipitation does push in, but we could still see muggy, warm conditions across England and Wales, 23, 24 degrees, and we'll likely see that once again into Tuesday, because at 3 a.m. on Tuesday, temperatures hardly dropping below 20 degrees in a few spots. That is proper, muggy, hot summer conditions. So yes, the daytime temperatures here are not too exceptional yet, because we've got a lot of cloud around and precipitation associated with it, but because of the very warm, humid, muggy air mass, those temperatures overnight are hardly dropping away. So it's going to be very trouble sleeping in these sort of conditions, especially for the middle of September. So yeah, we'll just have to see what those peak temperatures do, but it is looking very, very muggy and warm next week. Now, if you go over to the WRF and have a look at the Cape and the precipitation charts, just have a look at the remnants of the showers and thunderstorms over the next sort of 24 hours or so. Now, you can see this afternoon we've got quite a lot of moderate Cape around, nothing too crazy high, and that's why we're not seeing massive active thunderstorms at the moment, but still enough to produce heavy, thundery showers with some thunderstorms embedded within it locally. Through this evening, we still have some Cape around before it does diminish, but it stays on the channel throughout midnight into the North Sea. So we still could see some active thunderstorms right on the coast, and we could see some quite lively light shows there as well. But as we head through to tomorrow, you can see widespread Cape does break out through the afternoon. Again, moderate amounts, perhaps the highest in the south and southeast. So could be seeing some active storms there, but majority of areas it's just heavy showers with a few rumbles of thunder. But again, heavy showers still producing torrential rain, just basically thunderstorms without the lightning really, and perhaps hail, and the most torrential rain still could cause disruptions, even though technically we haven't got massive amounts of lightning and thundery sort of conditions. As we head through Friday evening into Saturday, you'll be able to see through Saturday afternoon hardly any cape at all. So much drier, much less energetic within the atmosphere as that low pressure with the warm air wrapped within it moves to our east. Now, if you look at the precipitation for this as well, again, very similar to the last few days, it's not going to show anything too crazy because it's so unsettled, and that pinpointing these precipitation points is so difficult. But you can see through this afternoon just a massive amount of precipitation in central and southern areas, and as we head through this evening, perhaps maintaining its strength along the far southeast through the Channel into the North Sea, and that heavier precipitation moving into Northern Ireland. Through tomorrow, more heavy showers breaking out across the south and the east, and as we head through Friday night, all that precipitation diminishes, and through Saturday, a much drier, potentially even bone dry day for many, with those temperatures recovering and responding to that. Now, if we do have a look at the mid to longer range in a minute, we'll be able to have a look at what that potential very warm conditions is going to be doing over the next week or so. Now, it is because of ex-hurricane, or now tropical storm Danielle, moving to our south. And as we saw in the UKV, we did see some very warm air masses move in. It is right at the 5-day time frame for the UKV, so it's not going to be forecasted too well. Again, we'll have to wait another day or two to be able to have a look at those exact temperatures because the cloud and precipitation amounts will change that drastically. So we are seeing really variable conditions. We'll have a look at some runs in a minute that show 30 degrees potentially next Tuesday. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So if we do move on to have a look at that and have a look first from the NHC and have a look at the track of Tropical Storm Danielle. Now it is currently, and for the next 24 hours or so, it's just spiralling out in the North Atlantic as an extra tropical storm. So it is losing, or it's post-tropical storm, so it is losing its tropical characteristics as it moves out of the warmest air, but it still has very strong winds and potentially could arrive on the Iberian coast as a tropical depression, potentially moving to the Bay of Biscay as well. So it is nowhere in terms of its wind and sort of its precipitation associated with, it's nowhere near the UK. Yes, in the vicinity of the whole planet, it is pretty close for a tropical system, really close indeed. But for its wingspan and its precipitation, its weather fronts, it is nowhere near the UK. So we're not going to see any direct impacts from hurricane or tropical storm, ex-tropical storm, whatever you want to call it, Danielle. So anyone claiming that we're going to get hit by tropical storm Danielle, that is false. It's not going to be happening. But we're going to be seeing some secondary impacts because of it. Because of the storm diving to the south with a lot of hot air wrapped in it, as we've seen following low pressure tracks, you see with a low pressure sat over the Bay of Biscay, as we have had at times this summer, it draws up a southerly wind. And what that does is it pushes up extremely hot air towards the UK. So, yes, Danielle is not hitting the UK, but it's indirectly causing very hot air to reach the UK and potentially very stormy thunderstorm sort of conditions, because low pressure will eventually run in, hitting that very hot air, and we could see a thundery breakdown similar to those we saw during the summer months in July and August whenever we have a heat wave that broke down suddenly. So yeah, it could be some really lively conditions once again next week. Now, if you do have a look at that on the GFS today, you'll be able to see low pressure over top of us at the moment, and you can see Danielle out of the North Atlantic, and it just spirals on its own over the next couple of days, for eventually heading to down towards the Iberian coast. Now, you can see it's not too deep of a low pressure there, but it still has quite strong winds and some heavy rain associated with it. But you can see the winds go into a southerly, and what that does, it draws up incredibly hot air from the south, the 15-degree isotherm at least, potentially even the 20-degree isotherm getting into parts of the east by Tuesday. But low pressure pushes in. Remnants of Danielle and another low pressure system pushing from the west with that very warm, humid air could cause some big thunderstorms. Now, this is in the 5 to 7 day time frame, so we can't have a look at it on the short, high resolution models yet, but it would produce very warm conditions temporarily and very unsettled conditions momentarily after it. Beyond that, though, we do go into a more of a westerly, back towards average air masses, more ex-hot tropical systems pushing through, giving us warm bursts of air and generally unsettled conditions. But we are seeing a build of higher pressure right toward the end of September. It is in the extended range, so I wouldn't really take it too literally. But for the time being, it's remaining fairly unsettled, potentially very warm next week, but those temperatures slowly recovering back towards average beyond that, with potentially some very heavy thundery precipitation with it. Again, we can't pinpoint the details until we're in the sort of the 5 day time frame. Now, if you look at the GEM run, this does something very interesting. It actually brings very warm conditions at the surface. And we'll have a look at the 2-meter temperatures from this. I must emphasise, though, not all runs are doing this. GFS didn't. It only got to around 24, 25. The GEM, though, gets towards the 30-degree point next week. Really, really warm and hot for September. Again, it's nothing compared to seeing that 40 degrees we saw in July, but for the middle of September, not just the 1st of September, not just rolling out just out of summer. This is probably into early autumn now, and it is potentially going to get very hot indeed. Now you can see down here moving to our south, very hot southerly wind pushes in. Look at the air-drift HPA temperatures. Widely the 15-degree isotherm engulfs us. Look at the temperature deviation, getting towards 12 degrees above average, incredibly hot. And beyond that, low pressure eventually runs in, giving us some very unsettled, maybe thundery conditions. And alright, at day 10, we actually still have a bit of a southerly wind, so generally still a warm, humid air mass, but maybe more low pressure associated with it, so potentially a bit more thundery. Now, if you run it back all the way to next Tuesday and have a look at those 2-meter temperatures, if you go to the United Kingdom, and again, have a look at those 2-meter temperatures. We do it to the 3-hour intervals. You can see at midnight, mid-teens there on Monday, and Monday afternoon, widely low to mid-20s. Again, these are low resolutions. You can add a degree or two into it, 25, 26 degrees. But by Tuesday, look at that. Widely mid to high 20s, and very likely we would peak around that 30-degree mark somewhere, which is incredibly hot for the middle of September. And it will continue into Wednesday, perhaps not quite as hot, but still could see mid to high 20s, but precipitation would be pushing in. Again, you look at that precipitation, you can see heavy thundery showers spiraling around that low pressure system, and again, likely to see big heavy thundery showers similar to what we've had this week moving in there. So we could see a bit of a repeat of conditions we've seen this week once again next week, but it could even be slightly more intense with even hotter air wrapped in amongst it. But I must emphasise, we won't be able to have a look at any details at this until another couple of days, perhaps Saturday, Sunday time. That's when we'll be able to have a look at the exact 2-meter temperatures and potentially the exact thundery breakdown from it and associated thunderstorm risks beyond that later next week. Now, if you have a look at the ECMWF, again, very similar. Danielle moves to our south. Hot air gets drawn up. Again, look at the air-drift HPA temperatures. Incredibly hot. 20-degree isotherm, potentially getting into the far north of France, maybe touching the UK, but the 15-degree isotherm engulfing us, and eventually gets swept away by more low-pressure systems. Could go a little bit cooler at times, but you can see generally we have a westerly flow with oscillating low-pressure, high-pressure systems, and again, could be a lot of thunderstorms mixed in within that. Low pressure pushing into that very hot air. Very unstable. And we can see this emphasised on the ensembles. Again, next couple of days we're around average, high precipitation, but by Saturday, Sunday time, precipitation is much lower. You see a couple of days of a little bit of a lull there. But then we see this massive spike in upper air temperatures, potentially getting towards 20 degrees air-drift HPA. A slow drop down as low pressure pushes in, but look at this massive precipitation. Some huge precipitation spikes peaking here, and that would just be the exact sort of perfect storm conditions of low pressure engaging with the hot air. And as I said, we've got no real consistency with these precipitation spikes, so that's why it's still a little bit up in the air, exactly what we're going to see. But it looks pretty much guaranteed now we're going to see this big heat spike and a long sort of drop down in upper air temperatures back towards average perhaps in around 10 days time. So the rest of next week, even once that hot air does eventually slowly move away, it's still going to be warm and muggy and still could produce big showers and storms. Beyond that, towards the last third of September on the GFS ensembles, again, more around average, still with precipitation there, no definitive signal. Another important thing to have a look at is the dew point. Look at that next week. It is pretty high at the moment, pretty muggy at the moment, producing the thunderstorms, but it gets towards 16, 17, 18 degree dew points. That is tropical sort of conditions. That would be dew points we'd see in the middle of the summer when we have very thundery, hot air masses coming up from the south. So we're seeing a proper summer thundery air mass here. And I know it is September, but we could be seeing proper summer temperatures for a time early next week, and could be seeing some proper summer thunderstorms. Beyond that, multi-celled systems potentially couldn't even rule that out if we did see it engaging exactly in the right way. Now, if you look at the ECMWF ensembles, again, very similar. Warm in the next couple of days, a day or two cool down, and then a massive spike in upper air temperatures to around that 15 to 20 degree range, and then big precipitation spikes as it does cool down. And in the longer term, generally around average, but very uncertain in terms of precipitation. So yeah, Still going to have a couple of days of thunderstorms here. Saturday and Sunday, especially in the central areas and eastern areas, could be very nice. Sunday might be a little bit more unsettled for northern and western areas. And then next week, could be seeing some very hot conditions, potentially on Monday, but looking likely on Tuesday and maybe Wednesday. And then we could see a big thundery breakdown in around a week's time. Big thunderstorms, and even if we don't see thunderstorms, there will be heavy rain, torrential rain around. So yeah, we just got to keep an eye on this, but the weather is remaining very lively as we head through the middle of September. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.